Hey everyone, welcome back to another Reactions with Aaron video. In this video, I will be reacting to the song Sequel by Chapin. I am so excited to get into this. I did listen to Taxi. It's so sad how it ends. And everyone's like, listen to Sequel, you've got to listen to Sequel. So apparently the story continues. So let's do this. I'm really excited. 3, 2, 1.
So here she's acting happy inside her handsome home. And me, I'm flying in my taxi, taking tips and getting stoned. I got into town a little early, had 8 hours to kill before the show. First I thought about heading up north of the bay, then I knew where I had to go. I thought about taking a limousine, or at least a fancy car, but I ended up taking a taxi, 'cause that's how I got this far. You see, 10 years ago it was the front seat, driving stoned and feeling no pain. Now here I am straight and sitting in the back, hitting 16 Parkside Lane. The driveway was the same as I remembered, and a butler came and answered the door. He just shook his head when I asked for her and said she doesn't live here anymore. But he offered to give me the address that they were forwarding her letters to. I just took it and returned to the cabbie and said, I got one more fare for you. And so we rolled back into the city, up to a 5-story old brownstone. I rang the bell, it had her name on the mailbox. The buzzer said somebody's home. And the look on her face as she opened the door was like an old joke told by a friend. It'd taken 10 more years, but she'd found her smile, and I watched the corner start to bend. And she said, how are you, Harry? Haven't we played this scene before? I said, it's so good to see you, Sue. Had to play it out just once more. Play it out just once more.
Okay, let's pause. Sorry. This is awesome. Thank you for telling me about this sequel song. Let's finish it up. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
She said, I've heard you flying high on my radio. I answered, it's not all it seems. That's when she laughed and she said, it's better sometimes when we don't get to touch our dreams. That's when I asked her, where was that actress? She said that was somebody else. And then I asked her why she looked so happy now. She said, I finally like myself. At last I like myself. So we talked all through that afternoon, talking about where we've been. We talked of the tiny difference between ending and starting to begin. We talked 'cause talking tells you things like what you really are thinking about. But sometimes you can't find what you're feeling till all the words run out. So I asked her to come to the concert. She said no, I work at night. I said we gotten too damn good at leaving soon. She said, Harry, you're right. Don't ask me if I made love to her or which one of us started to cry. Don't ask me why she wouldn't take the money that I left. If I answered it all, I'd lie. So I thought about her as I sang that night, and how the circle keeps rolling around. How I act as I'm facing the footlights, and how she's flying with both feet on the ground. I guess it's a sequel to our story from the journey between heaven and hell, with half the time thinking of what might have been, and half thinking just as well. I guess only time will tell.
Yay! I love that. Thank you again so much for requesting that. That was, the end of Taxi was straight up sad. This ending, it's not, entirely happy, but there's hope. There's like a hopefulness to it. Like, I guess time will tell. We'll see where this goes. So that's like, they're probably going to stay in touch and, become friends again and see if that friendship leads to something more. So, yeah. I love that so much. I'm gonna get the lyrics if my computer will let me. It's been running slow today. All right. So it opens with the last few lines of Taxi. She's actin' happy inside her handsome home, and me, I'm flying in my taxi, taking tips. And then it starts the actual song. I got into town a little early, had 8 hours to kill before the show. First thought about heading up north of the bay, then knew where I had to go. I thought about taking a limousine, or at least a fancy car. I ended up taking a taxi, 'cause that's how I got this far. It was 10 years going in the front seat, driving stoned, feeling no pain. Now here I am straight and sitting in the back, hitting 16 Parkside Lane. The driveway was the same as I remembered, and a butler came and answered the door. He just shook his head when I asked for her and said she doesn't live here anymore. But he offered to give me the address they were forwarding her letters to. I just took it and returned to the cabbie and said, I got one more fare for you. And so we rolled back into the city up to a 5-story old brownstone, rang the bell that had her name on the mailbox. The buzzer said somebody's home. And the look on her face as she opened the door was like an old joke told by a friend. It'd taken 10 more years, but she'd found her smile, and I watched the corners start to bend. And she said, "How are you, Harry? Haven't we played this scene before?" I said, "It's so good to see you now, Sue. Had to play it out just once more. Play it out just once more." She said, "I've heard you flying high on my radio." I answered, "It's not all it seems." That's when she laughed and she said, "It's better sometimes when we don't get to touch our dreams." That's when I asked her where was that actress. She said that was somebody else. When I asked her why she looked so happy, she said, "I finally like myself. At last, I like myself." So we talked all through that afternoon, talking about where we'd been. We talked of the tiny difference between ending and starting to begin. We talked because talking tells you things, like what you really are thinking about, but sometimes you can't find what you're feeling till all the words run out. I really like that line. It's so true. Yeah. Sometimes you don't know what you're trying to say until you try to say it. So, yeah, I really like that line. So I asked her to come to the concert. She said, "No, I work at night." I said, "We've gotten too damn good at leaving, Sue." She said, "Harry, you're right. Don't ask me if I made love to her or which one of us started to cry. Don't ask me why she wouldn't take the money that I left. If I answered at all, I'd lie." So I thought about her as I sang that night and how the circle keeps rolling around, and if I act as I'm facing the footlights, how she's flying with both feet on the ground. I like that part too. So she wanted to be an actress. He wanted to fly. And then it's like they switch. They use the wording to switch. So he's acting now, and she's flying with both feet on the ground. Yes, I guess it's a sequel to our story, from my journey between heaven and hell, with half the time thinking of what might have been and half thinking just as well. I guess only time will tell. So it's not like a fairy tale ending by any stretch of the imagination, but it's definitely, it leaves room for the next chapter of the story. I love that. That was like such a better ending than Taxi. I mean, Taxi was beautiful too, but it was so sad. Like, you have hope for these guys. So yeah, that was awesome. I love it. Again, thank you so much for suggesting this. Let's see what song facts say. This came out in 1980. The original was, okay, there we go, 1972. So like almost 10 years. That's awesome. A lot of people were taken by Chapin's 1972 hit ballad, Taxi, and the story of its characters. Harry, a taxi driver, and his ex-lover, Sue, now a successful but unhappy actress, when he picks her up in a taxi he's driving. So years later, Chapin did this sequel using the same music while continuing the story. The song peaked at number 23, spurred by fans of the original. Sadly, Chapin's life didn't continue. He died in an automobile accident in 1981. This was his last hit. Aww. Sandy Chapin, who was married to Harry, wrote a lot of poetry which Harry would turn into songs. Cats in the Cradle is an example. She explained how this song came about. "I'm pretty sure I gave him this idea. I was thinking of a novel that I had read, too. This is all a very long time ago, laughing. I think it was by Graham Greene, an English writer. But anyway, it was like a turnaround in a relationship. It was a relationship where one of the two people was much stronger and sort of the caretaker of the other. And then the tables were turned, and the woman became the strong person, and so forth. So with that idea, I said, wouldn't it be interesting to see what happened to these people maybe 20 years later? I just tossed out the idea, and as usual, Harry was on the road and busy doing other things. And then, at one point, he said, why don't we try to write it? And I didn't do anything with it. Then he sat down and wrote the sequel. That's awesome. Thank you guys. I keep saying thank you for suggesting it, but seriously, thank you for suggesting it. I'm so happy I listened to this. So yeah, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. I will see you guys in my next video. Erin out. Talk to you guys later. Bye.